Okay, so hi guys. So welcome to the part 2 of our discussion regarding HIV and pertinent laws. So for this part, we will be discussing AIDS Council and Agency that is through the PNAC, Philippine National AIDS Council. So that was created in 1992 through DEO number 39 for the purpose of fulfilling the following key functions. So that is letter A, to secure from concerned government agencies recommendation on how their respective agencies could operationalize specific provisions of this act. So this act, it refers to the Republic Act 8504, known as the HIV law. Okay? So the Council shall integrate, coordinate such recommendations, and issue implementing rules and regulations of this act. So the Council shall likewise ensure that there is adequate coverage of the following. So, in the following slides, when there is a council, it refers to the PNAC or the Philippine National AIDS Council. So, it is the duty of the council, okay, to ensure, okay, or it is the duty of the council that the institution of a nationwide HIV and AIDS information and education program shall be implemented. So, as well as the establishment of a comprehensive HIV and AIDS monitoring system. That's why, guys, there is a data. We have a data that is, of course, through the data collected with the testing centers. Okay, wherein they can monitor the number of HIV cases, yung pagtaas at saka yung pagbaba kung ilan na ba yung namatay. Okay? So the issuance of guidelines on medical practices and other procedures that carry the risk of HIV transmission. So in surgeries and other procedures wherein HIV transmission is possible, okay, there are certain guidelines that are followed, okay, to prevent the HIV transmission, just like, for example, in blood donation. So, the blood, since HIV is a blood transmissible disease, so the blood units that are being donated are subjected to HIV testing to prevent the transmission of HIV. Okay, the provision of accessible and affordable HIV testing and counseling services to those who are in need of it. That's why, guys, through the DOH and other agencies, HIV testing is free in some DOH affiliated hospitals and testing centers. Okay, so HIV testing is free provided that you go to DOH affiliated hospitals or testing center. Pero kapag pumunta ka naman ng mga St. Luke's, Makati Med, okay, so since these are private institutions, most likely they will charge a fee for the HIV testing. Pero marami namang hospitals, lalong-lalo na sa government, ang nagpo-provide ng free HIV testing as well as counseling. And I'm sorry for the background noise, guys. So those are beyond my control. The provision of acceptable health and support services for persons with HIV and AIDS in hospitals and communities. Okay, so there are support system as well as services that are intended to persons living with HIV. When say persons living with HIV kasi, these are persons who tested positive for HIV. The protection and promotion of the rights of individuals with HIV. So, even if an individual is HIV positive, we share equal protection, okay, and rights. So, bawal silang pagbawalang magtrabaho or bawal silang ma-terminate sa trabaho because of their HIV status, okay? So, they cannot be denied for their political ambitions as well as in schools. So, they can't be terminated just because they are HIV positive. So, the law, okay, prevents that. So, prevents the discriminations to persons living with HIV. So, the strict observance of medical confidentiality. Okay, wherein the HIV status of an individual should not be publicized, okay, especially without his or her consent. even if you are working in the hospital and you are the medtech in charge of the testing of that person and you saw, okay, that he or she is positive for HIV, you do not have the right to disclose his or her status to other individuals, okay? Provided, okay, that they are affected, okay? So, dun sa testing phase, pag affected sila, pwede mo i-disclose. Pero, hindi pwedeng i-chichika mo lang. Like, for example, nasa lab ka, okay? So, you are working in the immunology and serology section. So, in the screening phase, the result for the HIV screening is positive. So, if in other sections, that patient has a sample to be tested, like for example, he or she has a sample in the clinical chemistry section, in the blood banking section. So you have the right, okay? So you have the right to inform them. Okay? Okay lang naman, that is allowed by the law. Okay, so that is the term. It's not that you have the right, but it is allowed by the law that you disclose the HIV status of that individual, provided that the other medtechs are concerned with the testing. Okay? They are connected with the testing process. Pero kung yung medtech naman na isa is taga, for example, in histopathology section, okay, and the patient does not have any sample that should be tested under histopath, then, okay, you are not allowed by the law to disclose the HIV status of that person to that medtech kasi wala naman siyang touch sa testing process. Okay? Pero kapag merong yung isang medtech, hawakan niya yung sample ng pasyente niyon, pwede mong i-inform. Okay? Kaya nga in hospitals, they have code for those HIV positive individual. Minsan naglalagay sila ng mga asterisk. Okay? So, just to warn the other medical technologists. Okay? But how about guys, take note also that even if you are the medical technologist, okay, so you are not allowed by the law to disclose the result of the patient to the patient directly. It is not your obligation or it is not under your jurisdiction to disclose his or her HIV status. Okay? So, ang magdi-disclose nun, yung confirmed, okay, or confirmed HIV status of an individual that must be disclosed by the physician or the counselor, the HIV counselor. So, it is not us who discloses the results, but those who conducts the counseling as well as the physician of that particular patient. So, I hope that is clear, guys. Okay, so to monitor the implementation of the rules and regulations of this act, issue or cause the issuance of orders or make recommendations to the implementing agencies as the Council considers appropriate. Okay, and another, develop a comprehensive long-term national HIV and AIDS prevention and control program and monitor its implementation. So I have here, if you search the Google if you search the Google regarding programs of the government, okay, for the prevention of HIV. So, eto lalabas to. So, we have here HIV STI prevention, of course, that is Department of Health. So, that is to reduce the transmission of HIV and STIs among the most at-risk population and general population and mitigate its impact at the individual, family, and community level. So, under this are the program activities. So, that is the availability of free voluntary HIV counseling as well as testing service. Okay, so if an individual has a risky behavior and he wants or she wants to undergo counseling as well as testing, under the government's effort, that can be provided free without any charge. Okay, so 100% condom use program, especially for entertainment establishments. Okay, sa mga, alam niyo na yon, yung mga lugar kung saan nangyayari yung mga bilihan ng for entertainment, diba? So, dapat merong condom use program. Okay? So, peer education and outreach, multi-sectoral coordinations, empowerment of communities, community assembly, and 4 are to reduce stigma, augmentation of resources of social hygiene clinics, procured male condoms distributed as education materials during outreach community. So actually nowadays they are the DOH with PNAC, they are tapping the uh, involvement of the persons living with HIV. Okay, during this outreach program and for educational purposes, tinatap na nila or nag-a-ask na sila ng help from those who are positive for HIV also. Okay, and aside from that, okay, they are also educating gays. Okay, so I hope no one is offended with that term. Okay? Kasi nga, they are entertaining, okay? When it comes to education or educating or getting the attention of the community, okay, kahit mga bata, okay? Tinatap nila yung mga individual na pwedeng mas makapag-deliver nung information, okay? Sa mas maayos at mas nakaka-convincing paraan. Okay, letter D, coordinate activities of and strengthen working relationships between government and non-governmental agencies involved in the campaign against HIV and AIDS. So, the PNAC, with the help of other non-government organizations, they collaborate so that, okay, there's a campaign, so they can make a campaign against HIV and AIDS. So actually, guys, HIV and AIDS, these are old problems of our community before this pandemic. However, nowadays, syempre hindi na ito masyadong na-highlight because we have a greater problem at the present time. Coordinate and cooperate with foreign and international organizations regarding data collection, research, treatment, modalities concerning HIV and AIDS. So, DOH, okay, so they are coordinating or cooperating with the WHO, okay, when it comes to data management as well as data collection. Evaluate the adequacy of and make recommendations regarding utilization of national resources for the prevention and control of HIV and AIDS in our country. Okay, that's why the PNAC through other government agencies, okay, like BBM, DepEd, so they are coordinating with other agencies for resources, okay, in order to prevent and control the spread of HIV. So under the supervision of DOH, a secretariat was created to monitor and evaluate the affairs of the council. So kumbaga, meron din silang secretariat, okay, who will, of course, ensure the following function: assist in ensuring that activities related to HIV and AIDS are implemented. So, yung mga programs ng PNAC, okay, so the Secretariat will ensure that these are well implemented, coordinated, and harmonized. Aside from that, under letter number 1, so the Secretariat coordinate national and multi-sectoral HIV and AIDS responses with members and other stakeholders for synergy and for greater impact of the response. So, promote and advocate the implementation of national response by the different partner agencies, including organizing World AIDS Day. So, that is December 1st, okay, of every year. So, December 1, yun yung World AIDS Day. So, candlelight and national AIDS-related activities. So, to provide technical support to the Council, assist the Council in monitoring and evaluating the national response. So, the Secretariat helps the Council in many ways, technical support, support in monitoring and evaluation, okay? So, under monitoring and evaluation, the Secretariat will monitor and evaluate activities, projects, and programs related to HIV/AIDS. So, they collect and serve as the repository of data from member agencies and stakeholders for response inventories and our future reference, provide necessary information to trigger appropriate response from concerned agencies, identify and endorse issues and concerns regarding AIDS response, and organize national multi-sectoral forum to disseminate information on the national response. So, kumbaga, head agency ang PNAC, but these are held by its secretariat. Okay? So, the secretariat will also assist the council in identifying and mobilizing resources in support of the implementation of AIDS response, provide administrative support to the council by developing and enhancing management systems and procedures through the following. So, capability building, training, workshop, mentoring, and skill building, inventory ng equipment, pag-perform ng administrative function, like documentation, filing, and inventory. So, function as support staff during plenary and subcommittee meetings. Provide administrative support to the council in the conduct of PNAC plenary and subcommittee meetings. So, the PNAC work collaboratively with government agencies such as the Department of Foreign Affairs, Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Justice, Department of Transportation, Department of Social Welfare and Development, as well as with others, in the implementations of the programs, as well as tapping with their resources, budget, So the role of educational institutions and other agencies in AIDS awareness. So this is mainly focused on education counseling as well as health informative advisory. So in education counseling, the development and progress of AIDS can be discussed with the public through teaching. So it can be incorporated. So the concept of AIDS, physiological agent, that is the HIV, so human immunodeficiency virus. Thus, mamaya muna, can be incorporated in academic subjects of courses such as mycology. However, I think with this, it is not appropriate that it should be incorporated in mycology because mycology is the study of fungi. Okay, so what is better is in the subject of virology because that is the study of viruses. And HIV is not a fungi but is a virus. Okay, microbiology, and any health-related education course. However, guys, this is just by law, okay? Nasa batas natin, okay? Nasa mga programs natin, but it is not well implemented. Why? Because in high school, okay, and in other college departments, wala namang AIDS awareness, okay, programs or AIDS topics related to AIDS and HIV. Okay, so kumbaga nasa batas pero it's not well implemented. Okay, maganda sana if this is incorporated with subjects from first year to fourth year or grade 8 or junior and senior high school so that in an early age, okay, so students are aware of how can they contract it or how they get it, what are the preventions, okay? So guys, take note, you can have HIV and doesn't have AIDS, okay? But once you have AIDS, of course, you have the HIV because this is the causative agent, okay? And AIDS, this is the, kumbaga, last stage of the HIV infection. So these are two different things. This is the virus and this is the, kumbaga, terminal stage for having HIV. Okay? So accordingly, the early detection of AIDS is necessary for immediate treatment. Okay? So, or the early detection of having HIV infection can prevent further progress to AIDS. Okay? So, mas maganda kung meron ka palang virus, you are already detected to have HIV. Okay? Because through that, through treatment and, no, there's no treatment yet. Through possible interventions, okay, mapaprevent na yung pag-develop ng AIDS ng isang tao. Educational institutions can provide health informative advisory seminars in which participants coming from different professional organizations may be required to act as health advisory agents who shall disseminate the information concerning AIDS, its treatment, but then again, wala pa siyang treatment as well as prevention. Okay? So, yung AIDS, walang treatment. Hindi ibig sabihin that you are undergoing prophylaxis and everything or may mga gamutan is mawawala na yung virus sa'yo. Okay? So, clinical ethics that is related to HIV. So, ethical consideration, confidentiality of the results, and the person's positive for HIV themselves are protected by the law. To that, we have the Republic Act number 8504, wherein strict medical confidentiality shall be strictly implemented, especially in hospitals. Okay? Hindi rin pwede na i-publicize ang resulta ng HIV status ng individual sa mga magazine and televisions without the consent of the person. Okay? So, pwede niyang kasuhan. For example, si ABS, dinisclose na HIV positive yung kanilang artist. So, bawal yun. Bawal yun under the law. Okay? So, the government and other institutions have adopted measures to protect HIV-related medical records. So, even for others, those who are under the medical records in the hospital, they are covered by this. So, since nakikita nila that the person is positive for HIV, they are not allowed, okay? They are not allowed to disclose the HIV status of an individual. But of course, guys, okay, nangyayari naman talaga, okay, na minsan na i-chika, na ibabalita na si ganito positive. Kaya ngayong nangyayari is that if the person is living in region 2, they will go to other regions to have their blood tested for HIV. Okay, pupunta sila ng Baguio, pupunta sila ng Manila kasi doon walang nakakakilala sa kanila. Okay? Kasi for example, taga-Tugigaraw ka, di ba? Nagpa-test ka sa CBMC. Hindi naman naiiwasan na nadi-disclose pa rin yung resulta. Okay? Kasi may mga chismos sa ganyan kahit na bawal. Nadi-disclose minsan yung result. Okay? Outside the hospital premises or the testing center. Okay? Second, informed consent for HIV testing has been the protocol in most hospitals. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng informed consent? So that is the process in which a healthcare provider educates a patient about the risk, benefits, and alternative of a given procedure or intervention. So the patient must be competent to make a voluntary decision about whether to undergo the procedure or intervention. So it means, guys, that in the informed consent, okay, the person must be knowledgeable about the procedure and she is willing to undergo such procedure. Okay? So, willing siya na mag-undergo ng procedure na yun. And bino-volunteer niya yung sarili na mag-undergo ng procedure na yun. Okay, so we have here let us know section, exemptions to the mandate of confidentiality. Medical confidentiality shall not be considered breach in the following cases. Okay, so let's check for the other window related to this one. Okay, so we have it here. So, the DOH shall enforce the following guidelines on the donation of blood, tissue, or organ. So, if there's blood donation or organ donation, these are tested for HIV testing without, and this is not breaching the, what do you call this one, the confidentiality of a person. So, once na nag-donate ka, under Organ Donation Act and Blood Donation Act, so masasubject na yan under HIV testing. Okay? So, what else? So, this one, so, donation of tissue or organ, whether gratuitous or one ruse, shall be accepted by a laboratory or institution only after a sample from the donor has been tested negative. So, lahat yan, mga tissue or organ, okay, as including blood, so these are subjected under HIV testing, okay, without breaching the medical confidentiality. Okay. So aside from that, so exemption to the mandate of confidentiality, another, when informing other health workers directly involved or about to be involved in the treatment or care of a person with HIV or AIDS, provided that such treatment or care carries the risk of HIV transmission, provided further that such workers shall be obliged to maintain the shared medical confidentiality. So, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina that, for example, in the laboratory, okay, so, if that person is positive for HIV, then you can share the information to other medical technologists provided that they are a part of the testing process or they will handle sample from that same person. Okay, even in the ward, okay, the nurses and the doctors, they can disclose the HIV status of the patient provided that the nurse or the doctor will handle the patient. Okay? Hindi pwedeng, hindi na-cover doon yung, for example, nurse ka ng Ward 10 and nandun yung HIV positive individual. I-disclose mo yun sa Ward 1, sa mga nurses sa Ward 1. Okay? So, that is breaching the medical confidentiality kasi hindi naman sila part ng treatment process or prevention process or the testing process. Okay, kasi wala naman pala silang concern dun sa pasyente pero dinidisclose mo. So, bawal yon. Okay? So, another, that is, when responding to a subpoena duces tecum and subpoena ad testificandum issued by the court with jurisdiction over a legal proceeding where the main issue is the HIV status of an individual. So, example sa mga rape cases, ganyan. So, that will be determined by the court. Okay? If they will mandate the HIV testing of a criminal or a particular individual, so that is an exception to the confidentiality, provided, guys, that the result of the HIV status must be opened by the judge in charge. Okay? Hindi pwede yung secretary, hindi pwede yung attorney. Okay? So, since that is requested by the court, the result must be opened, okay, or be seen by the judge. Okay? So, stated here naman, head of the office or department, hand-delivered and personally opened by the judge. Okay? So, we have here Republic Act number 8504. That is the Philippine AIDS Prevention and Control Act of 1998. Okay? So, that is otherwise known. So, that is the RA 8504, otherwise known as the Philippine AIDS Prevention and Control Act of 1998. So, ito yung HIV law natin. Okay? Pero, ang title niya is this one. Okay? Or the proper name and title are these two. Okay? So, it contains provisions set in 9 articles. So, meron tong 9 articles. So, the introductory statement of this act starts with the declaration of policies, definitions of terms. So, declaration of policy provides as follow. So, we have here, declaration of policy. The AIDS is a disease that recognizes no territorial, social, political, and economic boundaries, and for which there is no known cure. So, wala siyang cure. The gravity of the AIDS threat demands strong state action today. Okay? So, ang ibig sabihin niyan, walang pinipili ang AIDS regardless kung mayaman ka, mahirap ka, okay, taga saan ka ba, politician ka ba. Okay? That's why the state must act, okay, to prevent AIDS spread. So, the state shall promote public awareness through causes. Again, what's the cause of AIDS? That is, of course, the HIV. Modes of transmission, what is the most common? Through sexual contact. What type of sex ang pinaka-risky? The anal sex. Consequences, so consequences niya yung AIDS. Aside from that, okay, there are many other consequences. The mental health, physical health, as well as the emotional health of the family and means of prevention and control. So, is there a prevention for HIV? Of course, with the use of condom. Aside from that, prophylaxis. Okay, merong pre-prophylaxis and post-prophylaxis. So, yung sa pre-prophylaxis for HIV, these are medications that are given to individuals who have risky behavior Okay? So, kumbaga para siyang vaccination, pero it's not in the form of vaccine. Guys, wala pang vaccine against HIV. Okay? So, and control of HIV through a comprehensive nationwide educational information campaign organized and conducted by the state. The state shall extend to every person suspected or known to be influenced with HIV/AIDS full protection of his or her human rights and civil liberties. Towards this end, compulsory HIV testing shall be considered unlawful unless otherwise provided in this act. So, bawal yon. Compulsory HIV testing. For example, sa trabaho mo, nire-requirean ka ng HIV test. Bawal yon. Okay? Pagpasok ng PNP, ng BFP, okay, sa mga uniform personnel, bawal yon. Okay? Walang compulsory HIV testing doon. Merong HEPA B screening pero walang HIV testing. The right to privacy of individuals with HIV shall be guaranteed. Okay? So, through the medical confidentiality. The state shall extend to every person suspected or known to be infected full protection. So, discrimination in all its forms and subtleties against individuals with HIV or persons perceived or suspected of having HIV shall be considered inimical to individual and national interest. That's why they cannot fire you for being HIV positive. Okay, pwede mo silang kasuhan. Hindi ka rin pwedeng i-bully just because you are HIV positive. Okay? So, how about mom if I have AIDS and I was terminated by the company because I can no longer work? So, yun, pwede yun. Okay? So, that is justifiable naman. Kasi, you are no longer capable of working because of having AIDS. So, pwede yun. Hindi dahil may AIDS ka, kundi hindi mo na kaya magtrabaho. Provision of basic health and social services for individuals with HIV shall be assured. So the state shall promote utmost safety and universal precautions in practices and procedures that carry the risk of HIV transmission. That's why we do not reuse needles. Okay? So bawal kasi nga that medical practice can transfer or can infect other individuals. Okay? So the state shall positively address and seek to eradicate conditions that aggravate the spread of HIV infection, including but not limited to poverty, gender inequality, prostitution, marginalization, drug abuse, and ignorance. How about sa mga prostitute, guys? Mandated ba ang HIV testing? What do you think? No, guys. So, even if they are sex workers, hindi pa rin pwede yung compulsory testing. Okay? So, with that, what the government do or does is that they encourage the healthcare workers to undergo HIV testing. Okay? In-encourage nila. Pero hindi naman yun compulsory. So, they just encourage the healthcare workers to undergo HIV testing in that case. So, the state shall recognize the potential role of affected individuals in propagating vital information and educational messages about HIV and AIDS and shall utilize their experience to warn the public about the disease. So, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. So, the government is tapping the persons positive for HIV with their cooperation to be a part of the campaign against HIV and AIDS. Okay? So, we have it here, Article 8504. So, the Article 1, okay, so it contains provisions on education and information that discusses how to integrate in instruction, the causes, and others. Okay, so at intermediate 2 and 3 levels, including non-formal and indigenous learning system. So under Article 1, it's something to do with public education. Okay, so educating the public related to HIV and AIDS. Okay, incorporating the topics and information to secondary and college level. Not only them, but including the non-formal and indigenous learning systems kagaya sa mga vocational schools. The knowledge and capabilities of all public health workers shall be enhanced to include skills for proper information, dissemination, and education on HIV/AIDS, while the Article 2, it pertains to safer practices and procedures, okay, including the policies on donation of organ and tissues, as well as guidelines on surgical and similar procedures, including the penalties for unsafe practices and procedures. Okay? Safer practices. Okay? So, yan yung napapaloob dun sa Article 2. Sa Article 3 naman of RA 8504, provisions on how to carry out screening, counseling, and testing of HIV. So take note guys, it is a two-step process. Okay? So, si HIV result, in a testing center, what they do first is the screening phase. Okay? So, for example, sa CBMC, okay, or sa Simple Hospital, screening muna yon. So, kung anong resulta doon, that is referred as screening only, and the result in the screening test is not disclosed to the patient yet. So, anong mangyayari doon sa mga positive na sample for the screening phase? Ipapadala yan sa National Reference Laboratory for confirmatory test. Okay? So, screening kapag positive, ipapadala sa National Reference Laboratory for HIV. Okay? Pag negative naman, yun na yung dinidisclose ng doctor agad-agad. Kahit sa screening pa lang, pag negative na siya, i-disclose na ng kanyang doctor na negative siya for the HIV virus. So, what is the reference laboratory for HIV test? So, yan si SACL, okay? Si San Lazaro Hospital, SACL, okay, so this one, the SACL, it pertains to the STD/AIDS Cooperative Central Laboratory, which is located in SLH or San Lazaro Hospital. So this is the reference laboratory, the SACL, the STD/AIDS Cooperative Central Laboratory that is under San Lazaro Hospital. So that is the reference laboratory for HIV test. So lahat ng positive for screening test, in the HIV screening process, all of those samples are submitted to the SACL. Okay? To the SACL San Lazaro Hospital for confirmatory testing. Okay? So, Article 5, the monitoring mandated in Article 5 shows the procedures on how to monitor people with HIV, including contact tracing and the program the agencies have established. Sa Article 6 naman, it includes provision on how to maintain the confidentiality of results, including the exception for such confidentiality of results, the risk associated with reporting the results, penalty associated for releasing the results. Basta it has something to do with the results of the HIV under Article 6. Okay? So, disclosure of the results to the sexual partner and release of results with consent of the patient. Compulsory ba yung question? Is it compulsory to disclose the HIV result of a person who is positive to his or her partner? Is it required by the law? Guys, you think? No. Okay? So, hindi ibig sabihin na pag positive ka, nire-require ka na ng batas na i-disclose mo yung resulta mo sa asawa mo or sa partner mo or sa mga nakasex mo. Okay? That is your choice, but the government, okay, in the counseling process, they will encourage you, okay, or the person who tested positive for HIV to disclose his or her result to his partner or to those whom he or she have sex with, so that they will also be able to know their HIV status and they can also prevent the further development of HIV to AIDS. Para, kumbaga, ma-prevent yung pag-develop ng AIDS at para may gamutan na mangyari. Okay? So, may gamutan na mangyari para hindi naman sila agad mamatay, di ba? So, that is being selfish also if you do not want to disclose your result to your partner, especially if he or she is your husband already. Kasi pwede pa naman siyang ma-save from having AIDS. provided na maagang mabigyan ng treatment. Okay? When I say treatment, I'm referring to the medicines given to prevent the further development of AIDS. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nun na magagamot siya or totally makikure siya. Okay? So, i-encourage lang ng government, okay, or nung counselor na i-disclose ni patient yung resulta sa mga nakasex niya, okay, or sa partner niya. Article 6, however, includes provisions on how to maintain the confidentiality of results, including the exception for such confidentiality. So, ano yung mga exemption na discuss naman natin? Okay, pag may mga blood donation act, organ donation, blood donation. Aside from that, we call this one, pag mga cases, okay, so that is determined by the court. So, yun yung mga cases. So, Article 7 dwells on discriminatory procedures, especially in the workplace, schools, hospitals, and the public. Okay? So, bawal yun. Bawal i-bully, bawal tanggalan ng trabaho just because they are HIV positive. Okay? Bawal na hindi tanggapin sa trabaho, even if they are qualified just because they are HIV positive. Okay? So, Article 8 focuses on the creation of the National AIDS Council, including its power and function. Some implementing rules and regulations and separability and effectivity clauses are also presented under Article 8. So, that ends the 8504, guys, but let me discuss some important information related to RA 8504. Okay, so, balikan natin yung so we have it here, the RA 11166. So, this is an act strengthening, blah, 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 and repealing for the purpose of Republic Act 8504, otherwise known as the Philippine AIDS Prevention and Control Act of 1998. So, kumbaga, this is the most recent law related to HIV and AIDS. So, I just want to reiterate some part of this law. Okay, so this was approved by Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Okay, so but she's not the president. Since this was approved on December 2018, this was approved by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. So what we have here, the informed consent, where is that? So hanapin ko lang, guys. Okay, so we have here HIV testing. As a policy of the state shall encourage voluntary HIV testing, written consent from the person taking the test must be obtained before HIV testing. So, ito yung informed consent, which means that they are voluntarily willing, okay? They are willing to have their blood tested for HIV. So, HIV testing shall be made available under the following circumstances. So, in keeping with the principle of evolving capacities of the child as defined in Section 3I of this Act, if the person is 15 to below 18 years of age, consent to HIV testing shall be obtained from the child without the need of consent from a parent or guardian. So, if the individual is 15 to 18 years old, they do not need a consent from their parents. Pwede na silang mag-undergo ng HIV testing. So, yung informed consent manggagaling dun sa bata who is 15 to 18 years old. Okay? Hindi na sa parents. In keeping with the mature minor doctrine as defined by Section 3BB of this Act, any young person aged below 15 who is pregnant or engaged in high-risk behavior shall be eligible for HIV testing and counseling with the assistance of a licensed social worker or health worker. Consent to voluntary HIV testing shall be obtained from the child without the need of consent from a parent or guardian. So, mahaba. Ibig sabihin lang nun, for individuals or a child who is less than 15 years old, okay, as long as they are pregnant or she is pregnant and he or she is involved in a risky behavior, mahilig siyang makipag-sex, okay, nagda-drug siya, okay, yung mga yun kasi risky behavior. So, they can undergo HIV testing without the consent of their parents, provided na merong assistance from a healthcare worker or social worker. Pero yung consent manggagaling dun mismo sa bata. Okay? Yun nga, provided na buntis siya or engaged siya ng risky behavior kahit na less than 15 years old siya. So in all other cases not covered by B of this section, consent to voluntary HIV testing shall be obtained from the child's parent or legal guardian if the person is below 15 years of age or is mentally incapacitated. Pero kung hindi naman siya buntis, less than 15 years old siya, and hindi siya engaged sa risky behavior, the consent must be from the parents. Kung mentally incapacitated or, yun nga, alam niyo naman na yung mentally incapacitated, di ba? So, the individuals who can decide on their own because of a mental disorder. So, the consent must be from the parent. Okay? However, guys, in cases when the child's parent or legal guardian cannot be located despite reasonable efforts, or if the child's parent or legal guardian refuse to give consent of the minor, shall also be required prior to the testing. Okay? So in every circumstance, proper counseling shall be conducted by a social worker, healthcare provider, or other healthcare professional accredited by the DOH or the DSWD. So I hope guys that is clear yung sa informed consent kung kanino kukunin. Okay, so compulsory HIV testing. So what else? Family code. So compulsory HIV testing. It is necessary to test a person who is charges with any of the offenses punishable under Articles 264, 266, on serious and slight physical injuries, Article 335, 338 on rape and simple seduction, both of Act 3815 or the Revised Penal Code, as amended and also amended by the Republic Act No. 8553, otherwise known as the Anti-Rape Law of 1997. Okay, as well as to resolve relevant issues under Family Code of the Philippines, and as a prerequisite in the organ or donation of blood in compliance with the provisions of RA 7170, Organ Donation Act of 1991, and Republic Act 7719, otherwise known as the National Blood Services Act of 1994. So those are the cases of compulsory voluntary testing. Okay? So I hope things are clear regarding HIV law, guys. So hindi na natin na-discuss dito yung penalties. That is key. Okay, so as long as you know what's important here is of course the medical confidentiality. Kasi dun kasi tayo involved. Okay, so I hope guys that you learned a lot from this lesson and please study well for your quiz. Thank you so much.